In late September, something strange began to happen in Yellowstone. The entrances were blocked by bobcats, not one or two, but thousands. These typically solitary creatures had suddenly appeared at every gate, forming a living wall. It started with a silence so deep it made the birds vanish and the squirrels fall still. At first, tourists thought it was just another traffic jam until they saw them. Scientists rushed in, but their most advanced sensors could not detect anything. Some believed the bobcats were simply expanding their territory and protesting deforestation. Others feared that the animals were sensing something beyond human comprehension. A warning sign that something catastrophic was brewing in the vast wilderness of Yellowstone. One terrifying question hung in the air. What did these wild predators know that we didn't? Before we start, hit the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. The first sign that the world had tilted off its axis came not with a bang, but with a profound and unnatural silence. Arthur Vance felt it in his bones, a quiet so deep it seemed to absorb the cheerful hum of his old Buick's engine. He glanced at his wife, Eleanor, whose knitting needles had stilled in her lap. Her brow was furrowed, her gaze fixed on the winding ribbon of asphalt ahead. "Something's not right," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper. In the back seat, their 14-year-old grandson Leo was oblivious, lost in the digital glow of his phone. A curtain of greasy brown hair shielded his face, and the tinny beat of some incomprehensible music leaked from his earbuds. "Leo, put that thing away," Arthur said, his voice gruff but kind. "Look around you. This is God's country. You won't find this on a screen." Leo grunted, a sound of pure teenage protest, but slid the phone into his pocket. "It's just trees, Grandpa. And mountains. We've seen them for like 5 hours." "Not like these, son," Arthur insisted, gesturing toward the majestic peaks of the Absaroka Range, their stony faces painted with the gold and crimson of late September. "This is Yellowstone. It's different. It breathes." But today, the breathing seemed to have stopped. The usual chatter of chickadees and nuthatches was gone. No squirrels chittered from the pines. The air, usually crisp with the scent of pine and wild sage, felt heavy, stagnant, as if holding its breath in anticipation. They rounded a sharp bend leading to the park's north entrance near Gardner, Montana, and the Buick slowed to a crawl, then stopped altogether. Ahead, a line of cars stretched out of sight. A typical tourist jam, Arthur thought with a sigh. Probably a bison herd deciding the middle of the road was the perfect place for a nap. "Well, folks, looks like we're in for a wait," he announced. But this was no ordinary wildlife jam. People were getting out of their cars, their faces a mixture of confusion and awe. Doors hung open, and a low murmur of voices replaced the silence. Arthur squinted, trying to see past the glare on the windshields ahead. The blockage wasn't dark and woolly like a bison. It was dappled, tawny and spotted. And it was moving, a fluid, rippling sea of fur. What in tarnation? Arthur unbuckled his seatbelt and pushed the heavy car door open. The air that met him was thick with a wild, musky scent he couldn't place. He walked a few paces ahead of the car, Eleanor and a now curious Leo following. The sight that greeted them stole the breath from his lungs. It was bobcats, not one or two, which would have been a rare and cherished sighting. Not a dozen, which would have been a miracle. There were hundreds, no thousands. They filled the road from the crumbling asphalt shoulder to the yellow center line and beyond, spilling into the sagebrush on the other side. They were a living blockade, a silent, spotted army. Some sat alertly on their haunches, tufted ears twitching. Others lay languidly in the autumn sun, great paws tucked beneath them. Many more simply stood, their bobbed tails still, their golden, black-rimmed eyes staring forward with a calm, unnerving intensity. They were not fighting or interacting. They were simply present, a unified, inscrutable force. "Grandpa, are they real?" Leo's voice was a hushed whisper, his phone forgotten. For the first time all day, his eyes were wide with something other than digital fatigue. "They're real, son," Arthur said, his own voice thick with disbelief. "I've lived 72 years, spent half of them hiking and fishing these mountains. I've seen a bobcat 3 times in my life. Always just a flash of fur and a memory. Never this." A park ranger was moving down the line of cars, his face grim, his posture radiating a helplessness that did little to soothe the growing anxiety of the trapped tourists. He was an older man, his face a roadmap of wrinkles carved by decades of sun and wind, his name tag reading JEDSTONE. "Folks, I need you to stay in or near your vehicles," he said, his voice carrying the weary authority of someone who had seen it all. But his eyes, as they scanned the surreal scene, betrayed that he hadn't. Not even close. "We don't know what's happening. We're asking for your patience." "Patience?" A man in a garish Hawaiian shirt demanded from the SUV behind the Vances. "There's a plague of cats on the road. Can't you just shoo them?" Jed Stone fixed the man with a look that could have weathered granite. "Sir, those are thousands of wild predators. They weigh 30 pounds apiece, and they are armed with teeth and claws. We will not be shooing them. Now please, for your own safety, step back." Jed continued his slow patrol, his gaze lingering on the feline river. He'd started as a seasonal ranger back in '83. He'd seen wildfires that turned the sky orange for a month, winters that buried cabins up to their roofs, and the historic return of the wolves. He'd felt the ground shake with minor tremors and watched Old Faithful sputter and stall. But this was different. This was a violation of natural law. Bobcats were the ghosts of the forest, solitary hunters who guarded their territory with fierce jealousy. To see two together was rare. To see this was an impossibility made real, and it made the hairs on his arms stand on end. His radio crackled with reports from the other 4 entrances to the park. The story was the same at every single one. Yellowstone was sealed. Not by gates or rock slides, but by a silent, watchful legion of its most elusive hunters. By noon, the strangeness had attracted the world's attention. News helicopters buzzed like metallic dragonflies high overhead, careful to keep their distance. The cavalry had arrived, not with guns, but with PHDS. A sleek black helicopter from the U.S. Geological Survey touched down in a cleared area a quarter-mile from the blockade, its rotors kicking up a storm of dust and dry leaves. Out stepped Dr. Eris Thorne. She was a woman who seemed to be composed entirely of sharp angles and nervous energy, her dark hair pulled back in a severe ponytail. She was a seismologist, a woman of data, charts, and hard science. She trusted sensors, not stories. As she marched toward the scene, flanked by 2 technicians hauling silver cases of equipment, she was already running through a list of logical possibilities. A localized neurological parasite, contaminated water sources causing mass disorientation, a rare fungal infection, There had to be an explanation that fit within the known parameters of science. She found Jed Stone leaning against his truck, staring at the Bobcats as if trying to decipher a language he'd long forgotten. "Ranger Stone? I'm Dr. Thorne, USGS." Her handshake was firm, her eyes already dismissing him as a folksy relic. "What's the official assessment?" Jed gestured with his chin toward the cats. "They're waiting." Eris blinked. "Waiting for what? A food truck?" "Ranger, I need facts. Observed behaviors, onset time." "They started showing up just after dawn," Jed said, his tone unruffed by her condescension. "One or two at first, then dozens, then hundreds. As for behavior, they're just being. Quiet, watchful. The elk and the mule deer, though? They're gone. The whole Lamar Valley cleared out overnight, spooked by something fierce. The birds, too. Saw a flock of sandhill cranes take off 3 weeks early. The ground is quiet, but the air is screaming. Eris's lips thinned. Anecdotes. She needed data. "We'll set up broadband seismometers and gas spectrometers. If there's any unusual geothermal or seismic activity, we'll find it." For the next 2 hours, Eris and her team worked with brisk efficiency. They drove sensor spikes into the earth. They launched a drone with an infrared camera. They took air samples. The results that trickled back to her laptop were infuriatingly, maddeningly normal. The ground beneath them was as stable as a slab of granite. The caldera's sulfur emissions were well within normal parameters. There were no microquakes, no harmonic tremors, no ground deformation. Nothing. Her data told her this was just another Tuesday in Yellowstone. The thousands of animals defying a century of established behavioral science told her otherwise. She felt a prickle of unease, an unwelcome intrusion of doubt into her fortress of logic. She found herself watching the cats, trying to see them as data points. But they weren't. They were living creatures, and they were acting with a collective intelligence that defied every textbook she had ever read. Back at the blockade, the mood had shifted from novelty to a low-grade, simmering fear. The sun was beginning to dip, painting the sky in hues of orange and violet. The Park Service had brought in water and granola bars. Leo Vance sat on the hood of the Buick, his phone now a dead weight in his pocket. He hadn't thought about it in hours. He was watching a large male bobcat, its fur the color of ripened wheat, sitting less than 30 feet away. The animal's gaze was fixed on the distant peaks, its powerful shoulders relaxed but ready. Arthur sat beside him. Old legends say that when the animals act as one, it's because the mountain is about to speak. "What does that mean?" Leo asked, his voice quiet. "It means the earth has a voice." "We've just forgotten how to listen," Arthur said. "We have all our gadgets and gizmos, our satellites and computers. We think we know everything. But an animal feels the world in a way we can't. They feel the changes in the air pressure, the tiny vibrations in the ground. They hear the frequency of things. Maybe they're hearing something we can't." Leo thought about that. He looked at the bobcat, and for a fleeting moment, the animal turned its head and its golden eyes met his. There was no malice in that gaze, no threat. There was only a deep, profound, and ancient stillness. It felt like a warning, a sad, solemn warning. He felt an inexplicable urge to warn the cat back, to tell it that he understood. He slowly raised his hand, not in a wave, but in a simple gesture of acknowledgement. The bobcat watched him for a long second, then turned its head back toward the mountains. The connection was broken, but the feeling lingered. He wasn't just a spectator anymore. He felt like a participant in the mystery. As night fell, a chill descended from the mountains. The Park Service set up portable light towers, casting the surreal scene in a stark, artificial glare. The Bobcats remained. Their eyes caught the light, transforming the road into a field of shimmering, floating embers. Attempts to persuade them to move had been a dismal failure. A ranger had tried driving a heavy-duty truck slowly toward them, its horn blaring. The cats hadn't budged. They had simply watched the vehicle's approach with a collective, placid indifference until the driver lost his nerve and reversed. They tried using a high-frequency acoustic device designed to deter wildlife. The Bobcats seemed to find it mildly annoying, like a buzzing fly, but nothing more. They held the line. Dr. Thorne was huddled in a mobile command center, staring at her screens, which remained stubbornly, infuriatingly green. All systems normal. She was on a conference call with a panel of experts from Washington, D.C., and their frustration was palpable even through the tinny speaker. "Eris, we have the president's office asking for updates." A stern voice crackled. "The media is running wild with this. Feline apocalypse. Nature's revolt. We need an explanation." "I don't have one," Eris snapped, her scientific composure fraying. "Every piece of data I have says nothing is wrong. The ground is stable. The caldera is breathing normally. By all metrics, this is not a geological or seismic event." "Then what is it?" "It's a biological event," she said, though the words felt hollow even to her. "An unprecedented, inexplicable biological event." She ended the call and rubbed her temples, a headache pounding behind her eyes. She stepped out of the trailer and into the cold night air. Jed Stone was there, a thermos in his hand. He offered it to her. "Coffee, black?" She took it gratefully, the warmth seeping into her numb fingers. "They're still not moving." "Nope," Jed said. He wasn't looking at the cats, but up at the sky. "Sky's quiet too. No bats, no owls. Everything's hiding. Or gone." He took a sip from his own cup. "My first mentor here was a Shoshone man named Ben. He used to say that you don't measure this place with machines. You measure it with your gut. And right now, my gut is in a knot." Eris wanted to dismiss it as folksy nonsense, but she couldn't. Her own gut was telling her the same thing. Her machines were blind to the truth. They were measuring the wrong things. "What do you think it is, Jed?" "Honestly." Jed was silent for a long time, watching the constellations glitter in the clear, cold sky. "I don't think they're trying to keep us out," he said finally, his voice low. "I think they're trying to keep us from walking into something terrible. I think they're protecting us." The idea was so unscientific, so sentimental, that Aris should have laughed. But she didn't. She looked at the thousands of silent sentinels, holding their vigil under the cold starlight, and for the first time, she allowed herself to feel a sliver of what Jed felt. Not fear of the unknown, but a profound sense of awe. The event happened just before 3 a.m. It began not as a tremor, but as a feeling. A deep, resonant hum that started in the soles of the feet and vibrated up through the bone. It was a sound so low it was almost entirely infrasonic, a pressure wave that made the air feel thick and heavy. Inside the USGS trailer, every one of Eris Thorne's sensors screamed into the red. Alarms blared, graphs spiked into jagged, impossible peaks. But the data was bizarre. It wasn't a classic earthquake signature, not a P wave followed by an S wave. It was a sustained, massive release of acoustic energy, a colossal groan from the very bowels of the earth. "What is that? What the hell is that?" her technician yelled over the din. Eris stared at the screen, her mind racing, connecting the pieces in a flash of terrifying insight. It's the magma chamber. It's not erupting. It's shifting, a magmatic intrusion. A massive body of magma is moving miles beneath us, displacing the rock, releasing this pressure. The ground began to roll. It wasn't the sharp, violent jolt of a tectonic quake, but a long, nauseating swell, as if the surface of the earth had become the surface of the ocean. The light towers swayed precariously. In the distance, a sound like a dozen freight trains derailing at once echoed through the valley. It was the sound of rock grinding against rock, deep underground. Then, from within the park, came a series of concussive booms. Geysers, thrown off their delicate subterranean timetables by the pressure change, were erupting violently and unpredictably. Eris imagined the geyser basins, fragile crusts of sinter above boiling, superheated water. If hundreds of tourists had been standing there, the ground itself could have given way. It would have been a massacre. The hum intensified, the vibration building to a crescendo that made teeth ache. Everyone had dropped to the ground, clutching at anything solid. The Vance family huddled together beside their Buick, Eleanor shielding Leo with her own body. And through it all, the Bobcats were the calm in the center of the storm. They rose to their feet, all of them, a single unified body. They faced inward toward the park, their muscles bunched, their tails low. They let out no cries, no sounds of panic. They simply stood and took it, absorbing the planet's groan as if they had been born for this very moment. They were anchors, holding the line against a force that no one could see. Their instinct hadn't just driven them to the relative stability of the thick, engineered roadbed. It had driven them to form a barrier, a living wall between humanity and a death trap. The rolling motion lasted for nearly 3 minutes, an eternity of instability. Then, as slowly as it began, it subsided. The deep hum faded, the ground stilled, and the terrible pressure in the air vanished, replaced by the normal, crisp scent of pine. A stunned silence fell over the road. People picked themselves up, looking around with dazed expressions. And then, they looked at the Bobcats. A ripple went through the feline army. One of them, a female near the front, shook her head as if waking from a trance. She turned, gave the line of cars one last lingering look, and padded silently off the road, disappearing into the darkness of the forest. Another followed, then another. Within minutes, a steady stream of bobcats was melting back into the wilderness from whence they came. It was not a frantic retreat, but an orderly, deliberate dispersal. Their duty was done. The blockade was over. By sunrise, they were all gone. The only evidence they had ever been there were the thousands of paw prints left in the dusty shoulders of the road. In the aftermath, the official story was one of a near miss. Dr. Eris Thorne became a reluctant media sensation, explaining in calm scientific terms the nature of the sustained seismic event and the unprecedented mass wildlife displacement that had, by sheer chance, prevented a tragedy. She never mentioned Jed's gut feeling or her own moment of unscientific awe. But her reports were different now, laced with a new humility and a call for funding research into bioacoustics and animal sensory abilities. She knew her machines had failed, and the wilderness had succeeded. The Vance family never made it into Yellowstone that year. They turned the Buick around and drove home in a thoughtful silence. The trip had changed them. Leo sat in the back, not looking at a screen, but at the passing landscape, seeing it for the first time not as a collection of trees and rocks, but as a single living entity. He and his grandfather now shared a secret, a memory of a golden-eyed cat and a silent warning that would bind them closer than any forced family vacation ever could. Jed Stone stood at the north entrance gate as the first tentative cars began to roll into the park. The air was clean again, the birds were singing, and the world felt right. The news would call it an anomaly. The scientists would write papers. But Jed knew the truth in his bones. He had witnessed an act of incredible interspecies grace. The wild had not risen in anger or revolt. It had risen as a guardian to protect a species that was often its greatest threat. He looked out at the vast, breathing wilderness of Yellowstone, a place of profound mystery and power, and he felt a deep and humbling gratitude. Humanity was not the keeper of this world. It was merely a guest, and it had just been saved by the inexplicable, inscrutable wisdom of its host.